So in the last class we have seen the core dimensions and the core shape. Okay, so which shape of the core and which cross section of the core is more useful for us, and we have gone through various core shapes: rectangle without any circumcircle, circular core section, square core section, cruciform section, and stepped core. Okay, and we also see that from the table, last table what we have seen, in that as the number of steps of the core section goes on increasing, then the area of utilization of the circumcircle goes on increasing. It means that there will be less and less air gap, okay, in the circumcircle area, and the area of core is more. It will increase the linkage and it will decrease the leakage, which will increase the overload capacity and the performance of the machine. Okay, if leakage flux increases, leakage reactance increases. If leakage reactance increases, overload capacity decreases. Okay, so by using more number of steps in the core section, we are facilitating the better performance of the transformer. Okay, so next we will go for choice of design constants. Okay, so next we'll move to choice of design constant. Okay, so choice of design constants. Is the screen clear compared to the previous green color background? Anybody can reply? Is it more clearly visible now? Yes. Okay. Okay. So choice of design constants. See, there are various constants to be used in the design. Like we have fixed the VAV and Q in rotating machines. Okay, those are design constants to start from the output equation. Okay. So output equation of rotating machine was given by Q equals to or P equals to C naught D square ln, where C naught was having the design constants VAV and Q. Okay, and KWS in case of induction machine. But here the design constants, if you see the output equation, okay, so Q is equals to I will take single phase transformer. Okay, 2.22 F BM AI AW KW delta into 10 to the power minus 3 kVA. So this is my output equation of transformer, single phase transformer. So here design constants are F. F is a constant, no doubt, but it is not a design constant because it is specified. F always comes along with the specifications of the supply system. So therefore F will not form a design constant. Whereas BM, the maximum flux density that I will be choosing in the core, will form a design constant. Okay, why? Because the value of BM, whatever I choose, so BM is equals to phi m divided by AI. Okay, flux per unit area. Whatever the value of flux density I choose, that will decide the area of core, because the value of flux is a function of voltage. The value of flux is a function of voltage. So therefore, whatever the value of flux density I choose, that will directly affect the area of core. So if the flux density chosen is high, area of core obtained will be less. Okay, so this is one design constant. Second design constant, I have AWKW. Okay, so area of window, we will see that what is area of window. Okay, and KW, window space factor. Okay, this is the second design constant. Third design constant is current density, delta. Okay, so now these are the three design constants that I will be choosing, or I have to select. Rather than calculating, I have to select these things. What are the effects we observe when we select these constants? See, like we had what P is equals to C naught D square ln, okay, where C naught is equals to 0.164 for DC machine, let us take 0.164 BAV Q into 10 to the power minus 3. Okay, or simply I can say C naught is directly proportional to BAV and Q, and P is directly proportional to C naught. Okay, which are directly in turn proportional to BAV and Q. So if I chose larger values of BAV and Q, we observed that my volume of the machine will be less, D square L will be less. So with that, I get lesser size of the machine, okay? And by choice of larger values of BAV and Q, what are the pros and cons? Already we have discussed, okay? That is a parallel task, okay? What are the effects and how to minimize those effects, and whether we have to follow some trade-offs or whatever, okay? That is one issue. But these are the constants which we have to decide earlier before we go for the design, okay? So likewise, I have BM, okay? I have AW, KW and delta. So these are the design constants which I have to decide before I go for the actual design or obtaining the main dimensions of the transformer, okay? Yes, voice is audible? Is my voice audible? Am I audible now? Now am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we have to start with the design constants, then only we can achieve the proper design of the machine, okay? Now audible? Now audible? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I have to see what happens when I choose larger BM or smaller BM, larger AW, KW or smaller AW, KW, larger values of delta, okay? So first is flux density BM. First is flux density BM. Okay. Sound coming on. Okay. So we have output equation Q is equals to 2.22 or 3.33 for three phase. Okay. F BM AI AW KW delta 10 to the power minus 3. Okay. So it is always BM is equals to phi m divided by AI. Okay. And BM is inversely proportional to AI. Okay. Now if I choose larger values of flux density, area of core decreases. Now what is area of core? If this is the core, okay, the top view of the core, okay, the top view of the core, that is area of core AI, okay, decreases. Okay. So what is the advantage if AI decreases? If AI decreases, the diameter of circumcircle decreases. The diameter of circumcircle decreases. If diameter of circumcircle decreases, length of turn decreases. Okay. Now for example, I have two area of cores. Let us take this as one area. I will draw a few laminations. This is circumcircle. Okay. Then above that, I will be getting the winding. Okay. And this is the length of mean turn. Usually we talk in terms of mean turns, because we know that as I place the number of turns on the in the transformer core, it will form certain thickness, and the length of inner turn and the outermost turns are different. Hence we talk in terms of mean turn only. Now this is the length of mean turn. Now if I decrease the area of core, if area of core becomes small by choice of large flux density, okay, the diameter of circumcircle decreases. If the diameter of circumcircle decreases for the same number of turns, the length of mean turn decreases. It means that the length of each turn decreases, which is a large saving in the copper. So for the same amount of output, for the same amount of voltage, for the same value of current, I am saving the length of copper. I am not changing the area of copper because it depends upon current density and current. But the large length of copper is being saved, which is saving in size, saving in weight, okay, saving in cost, okay, and also for a larger value of BM, my output can also increase if I keep the other things constant. Okay, I can get an additional output, but it will come with certain disadvantages. It is not only that if I choose large value of flux density, okay, if I choose large value of flux density, no doubt there is a large saving in the copper, there is a large saving in the iron also, because the area of iron is decreased. See, this is the area of iron, this is the dimension I need. The dimension of core is this. Now the dimension of core is reduced. So there is a large saving in iron part also. So there is saving in iron, there is saving in copper. But there is increase in losses. We know that by the choice of larger flux density, my iron losses increase. What are the equation for iron losses? Eddy current losses are equals to eta Bm square F square T square into V. Hysteresis loss is equals to, say, some beta material constants, Bm raised to 1.6 F into V. So in both the cases, by increase in the value of flux density, my both iron losses are increasing. Eddy current losses are also increasing, hysteresis losses are also increasing. So it will increase the overall iron losses in the core, which will result in large temperature rise of the core. So with this choice of larger value of flux density, I should go for more effective cooling of the transformer. This is one thing. Second thing is that if I have to get larger values of flux density, then large amount of magnetizing current is being drawn from the source, which will again increase the iron losses, okay. But with the increase in larger magnetizing current, there will be considerable amount of magnetizing ampere turns. Generally we neglect magnetizing ampere turns for any machine, okay, for any transformer. Magnetizing ampere turns we don't worry much about that, okay, because the value is very small. But if I choose larger value of flux density, large value of magnetizing current is drawn and magnetizing ampere turns will increase, then my I1 T1 will not be equals to I2 T2. Okay, so these are the effects of choice of larger values of flux density. Okay. And the choice of this flux density Bm depends upon the type of transformer and the service of the transformer. Okay, whether the transformer is a distribution transformer or a power transformer, okay, whether the transformer is a core type or shell type, because in shell type what happens, generally the core that carries the winding is only the central limb. Okay, so we should think of the mechanical strength also. If I choose large value of flux density, no doubt area of core decreases, but area of core should be such that it should give sufficient mechanical strength to hold the windings. Now if we have a larger size or lower medium size transformer using shell type transformer, then it is difficult to have large value of flux density, because if the area of iron decreases below certain level, it may not have sufficient mechanical strength. Okay, so because of which, due to large mechanical imbalances, or mechanical stresses due to placing of winding, after certain amount of time the core may start getting deformed of its shape. Okay, so the value of flux density depends upon the type of transformer and the service conditions of the transformer. Okay, so permissible values of BM are, I will write this. Permissible values of BMR for hot rolled silicon steel transformer with hot rolled silicon steel BM is equals to 1.1 to 1.4 Tesla for distribution transformer, and it will be BM equals to 1.2 to 1.5 Tesla for power transformer. Hot rolled silicon steel is the fabrication process. Okay, the rolling, whether it is hot rolled or cold rolled, it is the fabrication process. Okay, then for CRGO, for CRGO core or CRGO laminations, CRGO is cold rolled grain oriented. Cold rolled grain oriented. Okay, for CRGO steel, silicon steel laminations, I can have a slighter higher side. So BM is equals to 1.5 to 1.7 Tesla. Okay. So one is hot rolled steel, one is cold rolled steel. Hot rolled steel are used for small and medium sized transformers because cold rolled CRGO steel is a little bit costly. Why CRGO steel is important? Because the resistance of the core is very high. Okay, the CRGO steel is not smooth. Okay, if you see the CRGO, the hot rolled steel, it will be very smooth. Okay, if you see the CRGO steel, it will be somewhat like sandpaper. If you touch the sandpaper surface, okay, the rubbing surface, you see that you will touch the grains to your hands. You will feel that grainy sand particles on the paper. Exactly, somewhat of that sort, this CRGO steel core will be there. What is the importance of this is, the resistance of this, the surface resistance of this is very high. The grain orientation, silicon grains, okay, the core is prepared with cold roll process and silicon grains are sprinkled on that. The silicon grains, what those are sprinkled on the surface is, will increase the conduction resistance to a very large value, due to which the eddy current losses will fall down. Okay, the eddy current losses are negligible in CRGO steel, which we generally use for large transformers because it makes economic. Okay, use of CRGO steel makes economic in last. Today, in these days, even for medium distribution transformers also many times CRGO is used because of fabrication processes and the industrialization. It has become economic. Okay, usage is large. It has become economic. Okay. So these are the values of flux densities that I have to choose. The second point into consideration, design constant, is current density. Second point is current density delta. current density delta. Okay, so how to choose current density? Because it is very much clear. Current density delta is equals to current divided by area. Okay, area of conductor. Okay, current divided by area of conductor. It can be A1 by I1, sorry, I1 by A1, or delta 2 is equals to I2 by A2. Okay, A1 is equals to I1 by delta and A2 is equals to I2 by delta. We know that the value of I1 and I2 are not in our hands. It depends upon the power rating and the voltage rating. Okay, so I1 and I2 are fixed. It comes along with the specifications. Only I can play with the value of A1 and delta. Now it is evident, if the value of delta is high, then value of area is less. Okay, for by the choice of larger value of current density, area of conductor decreases. But larger values of current densities will result in temperature rise. Okay, because of lesser area of conductor, okay, temperature rise will be more prominent, because as the area of conductor decreases, its dissipating surface of the conductor will also decrease.
So we can't hear you.
Now not audible?
No, no.
Audible?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I have to. Yeah, if you have any doubts, you can ask in between, okay? The only thing is that please don't talk among yourself. Any doubts you have, you just raise those points, okay? Now audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, as the current density increases, area decreases. Now in a smaller value, so in a smaller surface area and cross section area, the same amount of current has to flow. Therefore, the temperature increases. Why temperature increases? See here. R is equals to rho L by D. Now as delta increases, area decreases. As area decreases, resistance increases. As resistance increases, I square R into T. Temperature rise due to resistance is I square R into T. Okay. So I square R into T increases. T is time, not temperature. Okay. So I square R, because time is of important. Transformer is kept into operation for years together, not even days. So therefore, a large amount of copper losses will be there, because of which there will be increase in the temperature. Okay. So now what should be my concern about the choice of delta is, my temperature rise should be less. Temperature rise is nothing but my copper losses. Okay. My copper losses in the machine should be less. The value of delta should be such that the copper losses in the machine should be less. Okay. So if I want to keep the copper losses lower in the transformer, then I should be taking the value of primary current density and secondary current density equal. Okay. For minimum copper loss, delta 1 should be equals to delta 2. I should be choosing the same value of current densities in primary as well as secondary winding. So this is my condition. Okay, so this is my condition which we have to prove now. Okay, so it is one of the important proofs. It may be asked it has asked multiple times in the exam. Okay, show that for minimum value of current density in the transformer, the primary and secondary current densities should be same. Sorry, minimum value of copper losses in the transformer, primary and current densities should be same. One, or obtain the condition for which the copper losses in the transformer are minimum. So these may be the two possible questions we get. Okay, but this is one of the important derivation. So now we will see and we will prove that with delta 1 equal to delta 2, I will be getting minimum copper losses in the transformer. Okay, so we will take the proof, or before that we will take the statement. To obtain minimum copper losses in transformer, to obtain minimum copper loss in transformer, current densities in primary and secondary should be equal. Current densities in primary and secondary should be equal. It should be equal. Okay. Next, we'll take proof. Proof. Let U1 and U2 be volume of, let U1 and U2 be volume of primary and secondary. Let U1 and U2 be the volume of primary and secondary conductors respectively. Let U1 and U2 be the volume of primary and secondary conductors respectively. Then total volume of copper or conductor, copper and conductor both are same, interchangeably we will be using sometimes. Okay. Therefore, total volume of conductor is UT is equals to U1 plus U2. Okay. Total volume of conductor or copper is UT is equals to U1 plus U2. It is assumed that total volume UT remains constant. Okay, remains constant for any given transformer. For any given transformer. Okay, so the total copper required for any given transformer remains constant because it is depending upon the current and the voltage. Number of turns are the function of voltage. Okay, that is the length of the copper is the function of voltage, and the area of copper is the function of current. Now if the total power of the transformer remains constant, that is E into I or V into I is remaining constant, therefore my total copper length will remain constant, assuming remaining things remain constant. Okay, just now we have seen that if BM increases, my AI decreases, length of copper decreases. Now I am dealing with the current density thinking that my flux density is constant. Okay, I have already chosen some value of flux density and I have kept it constant. With that value of flux density, I already have obtained the value of AI. So with the obtained value of area of core and with the obtained diameter of circumcircle, okay, I assume that the total volume of the copper remain constant because the number of turns, the length is the function of number of turns and number of turns is the function of voltage. Therefore, length of copper in any machine, not only in transformer, it is true in case of the rotating machines also, because length of copper is the copper that is there in the slot. So that length of copper depends upon the value of voltage E equal to BLB. Okay. Therefore, here also the length of copper which is function of number of turns and number of turns is function of voltage is function of length of copper is function of voltage. Area of copper is function of current because A equal to I by delta. Okay, with the choice of delta, my area of copper is function of current. So therefore, as my product of voltage and current is remaining constant, my product of length and area of copper remaining constant. That means the total volume of the copper remains constant. Okay, I am not simply arbitrarily assuming it. There is a conceptual assumption. Okay, just for my requirement to derive, I am not keeping it constant because it remains constant. Okay. Next. Now what is the, now I have to find out what is U1 and U2, copper losses in primary and copper losses in secondary. Okay. Say primary copper loss. Primary copper loss is equals to I1 square R1. Primary copper loss is equals to I1 square R1. So what is I1? I can write this equals to, okay, here I1 is equals to, okay, delta 1 into A1. Okay, here I1 is equals to delta 1 into A1. So primary copper loss is equals to, or I will write it as, for my WCU1. WCU1 is equals to, I will write, I1 square. In place of I1 square, I will write delta 1 A1 square into R1, or delta 1 into A1, delta 1 square A1 square into R1. Okay. Now what is R1? Okay. We have R is equals to, I have written, okay, into what? We have R is equals to rho L by A. Okay, we have R is equals to rho L by A. So this I will write equals to delta 1 square into A1 square into, in place of R1 I will write rho L1 by A1. Rho is the resistivity. What material I will be using in primary is the same I will be using in secondary, assuming that both primary and secondary are of either copper or of aluminum. Therefore the resistivity will remain same. Okay. So rho L1 by A1, 1 A1 and A1 will cancel. I will get delta 1 square A1 into L1 into rho, or I will write delta 1 square rho A1 into L1. You see what is A1 into L1? A1 is the area, L1 is the length. So area into length is meter cube, that is nothing but my volume. Area into length is my meter cube, nothing but my volume. So I will write this as equals to, this equals to WC1, CU1 equals to delta 1 square rho into U1. Delta 1 square rho into U1. Okay. Similarly, secondary copper losses, WCU2 is equals to, I can write delta 2 square rho into U2, because that will be I2 square R2. If I go in the same lines, I will get delta 2 square rho into U2. Okay. We have UT is equals to U1 plus U2. Okay. Therefore, U2 is equals to, I will write UT minus U1. In place of U2, I will put UT minus U1. Okay. So WCU2 is equals to delta 2 square rho into UT minus U1. Now what are the total copper losses in the transformer? The copper present is only in primary winding and secondary winding. Therefore total copper losses in the transformer will be the sum of primary copper loss and secondary copper loss. Simple. Therefore, total copper loss in transformer WCUT is equals to primary copper loss plus secondary copper loss. I can write this as space WCU1 plus WCU2. Okay, or this is equals to, I will write it as substitute delta 1 square rho U1 plus delta 2 square rho UT minus U1. UT minus U1. Now when will be the copper losses minimum? I want the condition for minimum copper loss. That is what we are dealing with. Okay, we have discussed, or in the statement we have seen that by the choice of equal value of current densities in primary and secondary, my total copper losses in the transformer are minimum. So the condition for minimum copper losses is that, see, delta 1 is a constant apparently, rho is a constant, the only variables are U1 and U2. If the differentiation of total copper losses with respect to the variable, okay, is 0, then I will get minimum copper losses. Okay, if the differentiation of total copper losses with respect to the volume of the copper, U1 in this case, I can take in terms of U2 also. I can make delta 2 square rho U2 plus delta 1 square rho UT minus U2. Then in that case, differentiation of copper losses with respect to U2 should be 0. Both are done, both are permissible, both are acceptable. Okay, so because both are variables. Okay, so here copper losses in transformer are minimum. Copper losses in transformer are minimum if dCUT by dU1 is equals to 0. If differentiation of total copper losses with respect to the volume of the copper or volume of the conductor is 0, then I will get the minimum copper losses. And if I do this with respect to this equation, okay, or you take this as equation 1. If I do that with respect to equation 1, then I may get a condition that will give us the minimum copper losses. Okay, so now differentiate equation 1 with respect to U1 and equate to 0. Okay, so I will get this as differentiation of first term. Okay, it will be delta 1 square rho, delta 1 square rho, differentiation of U1 with respect to U1 is 1, plus delta 2 square rho into UT. Okay, or if you want, you can open the bracket and rewrite this equation. Delta 1 square rho U1 plus delta 2 square rho into UT minus delta 2 square rho into U1. You can take this both as equation 1. Okay, so now here differentiation of U1 with respect to U1 is 1, differentiation of UT, delta 2 square rho is a constant, differentiation of UT with respect to U1 is also 0, is 0. Why? Because UT I have taken it as constant. I have seen that my total volume of the copper will remain constant. My total volume of the copper will remain constant. So therefore, the second term, differentiation of second term becomes 0. So plus 0 minus differentiation of delta 2 square F into U1. Again, differentiation of U1 with respect to U1 is 1. Okay, so it will be delta 2 square rho, this is rho, out of practice of writing F every time rho is becoming f, okay, by default. Okay, sorry for that. This is rho equals to 0. Therefore, I will write it here. Delta 1 square rho is equals to delta 2 square rho. Rho will cancel, therefore delta 1 is equals to delta 2. So condition for keeping the minimum copper losses in the transformer is to keep the current densities in the transformer, both primary and secondary, of equal length. Yes? Any doubt? Somebody is talking? So delta 1 is equals to delta 2. So this is the condition for obtaining minimum copper losses in the transformer. Okay. So if I keep my current densities in both primary as well as secondary constant and equal value, then my copper losses obtaining in the transformer will be minimum. Okay. So this is with respect to the second design constant in the output equation, delta. Now the third design constant is window space factor. If I consider the window space factor constant or some value, automatically the area of window get fixed. Okay, because area of window is the ratio of is the product of window space factor, is the ratio of copper area to window space factor. So copper area will get fixed by the choice of delta. If I now fix the value of window space factor kW, then automatically my window area will get fixed. Okay. So next point is window space factor. Third point is window space factor. One more point. The value of delta, after that delta 1 equal to delta 2 you take. The delta 1 is equals to delta 2. This is my condition obtained. Okay. You can write hence the proof and all aesthetics. Then the value of delta 1 is equals to delta 2. I will take now onwards it as delta. This will be equals to 1.1 to 2.3 ampere per mm square. Ampere per mm square for distribution transformers. For distribution transformer and small power transformers. And small power transformers. And delta is equals to 2.2 to 3.4 ampere per mm square for power transformers, medium and large power transformers. Generally power transformers are large only. Okay, we don't use small power transformers. Okay, smaller value means it is up to 5 to 10 kVA or 15 kVA. So those are small transformers. Around 15 kVA to 100 or 150 kVA medium size, above 100 to 150 kVA those are large size. We never use power transformers below some MVA values, okay, megavolt ampere values, some 100 MVA or so. Okay. So next is window space factor.
It's
1.1 to 2.3. Oh, there is a shine, I think. Sorry, there are many windows in the room. I tried to cover as much shine as possible, but still some light is coming. I will in next class I will manage to cover everything. Okay. You should be seeing this room. you will laugh what all different arrangements have been done to eliminate the shine. Okay, 1.1 to 2.3 ampere per mm square and 2.2 to 3.4 ampere per mm square. Okay. So next is a third point or third design constant is window space factor. Okay, it is KW. Okay. So what is KW is? It is area of copper to area of window. Okay, and area of window is equals to area of copper upon KW. Now we see that area of copper is apparently remaining constant because area of copper depends upon the current densities and the current values. Therefore, my area of window is inversely proportional to window space factor. Okay, if I choose a large value of window space factor, I will be getting smaller value of area of window. If the area of window decreases, you can see here, this is a transformer frame. Now this is what? Area of window. This is my window. Okay, we know that. Let us not consider the circumcircle. We will see. Okay. Now, if area of window decreases, then total size of the transformer decreases. Okay, I can keep still the same area of frame. I will not change the area of core. I will not change the area of yoke. With the choice of larger value of window space factor, I can have smaller values of area of window. So with the smaller values of area of window, what will happen is the mean length of the core decreases. The mean length of the core decreases. Okay. So with the decrease in mean length of the core, there is a saving in the core area. So or in the core material. This is an advantage. But if the transformer is of medium and large size, then there should be effective cooling of the transformer. The cooling should never suffer. Okay, because if cooling suffers, transformer will take no time to get damaged. Lot of hotspots will be created in the winding. Okay, those hotspots will create secondary hotspots, and this cumulative process may end up in physical damage of the winding and the core because of excessive rise in temperature. Okay, so here my area of window should be such that it should accommodate copper. See, area of window is only shown with ratio of copper area to window area. Now if I take this as equal to 1, now if I keep window space factor equals to 1, then okay, it means exactly copper area is equal to window area. There is no gap between the two windings. There is no gap between the two windings. Two cylindrical windings. If I now place the windings here, these two cylindrical windings will be so close to each other, there is no gap between them. If there is no gap between them, the cooling suffers. There can't be oil circulation in the tank. Okay, and the inner part of the winding will experience excessive amount of heat rise or temperature rise, and it may get damaged. Okay, insulation will get deteriorated. There may be physical damage to the conductor. There may be physical damage to the insulator because insulation breakdown only will occur. Therefore, my window area is also important. Okay, so window area forms the main dimension of the transformer. Therefore, I have to fix the window area by fixing the value of kW. So the choice of kW should be such that the area of window should accommodate copper, it should accommodate or it should facilitate for cooling purpose also. Okay, for all oil circulation or air circulation. Okay, it should facilitate both. So my window space factor is depending upon the kV rating of the transformer. Okay, it is depending upon the kV, kilovolts values of the transformer voltage, and it depends upon the output value or the output rating or power rating. For different power ratings, there are different values of kWs. What are those? We will see. Okay, so kW depends on voltage value and kW depends on kVA value. Now kW is equals to 8 divided by 30 plus kV. kV is kilovolt value, voltage in kilovolts. Okay, this is transformer below 50 kVA. For the transformers less than, I think there is again a shine here. For transformers less than 50 kVA. Yeah, now it's visible. kW equal to 8 divided by 30 plus kV. Okay, then kW is equals to 10 divided by 30 plus kV. kV is kilovolt. Okay, kilovolt value. This is for transformer 50 to 200 kVA. For transformers 50 to 200 kVA. Okay, then kW is equals to 12 divided by 30 plus kV. 12 divided by 30 plus kV. For transformers above 200 kV. For transformers above 200 kV. Okay, then what is kV? kV is the kilovolt value, but in general you see, when I mention the transformer rating, say 110 kV bar 33 kV, then which kV should be this? So this kV is always the voltage in kilovolts of HV winding. Okay, kV is voltage in kilovolts of HV winding, compulsorily HV winding. Now suppose I have a 150 kVA transformer of voltage rating 110 bar 66 kV. Then I should be using which equation? Below 50 kVA 8 by 30 plus kV, between 50 to 200 10 by 30 plus kV, above 200 12 by 30 plus kV. Now my transformer rating is 150 kVA. I should be using the second equation, which is equal to 10 by 30 plus kV, and the value of kV is nothing but it is 10 divided by 30 plus, it is 110 bar 66 kV. So kilovolt voltage in kilovolts of HV winding. HV winding is 110 kV. So I have to place 110. Don't add kV there. If you add kV, my kW will be so small that my transformer will become invisible. Okay. Sorry, not so small. It will be so large. It will be so small that my transformer will become invisible transformer. Okay. So I should keep the value of kV in terms of kilovolts, not multiply it by 10 to the power 3. So this is the choice of design constants. Okay, my flux density, current density, and window space factor. Okay, so by choice of flux density, I will be fixing the area of core. By choice of current density, I will be fixing the area of copper, and by choice of window space factor, I will be fixing the area of window. So these three are the main dimensions of transformer. Area of copper, area of window and area of core are the main dimensions of transformer. By choice of these three design constants, I am fixing the main dimensions of the transformer. Okay. So in the next class, we will be looking into how to go for the design of the winding, okay, and the other aspects of the transformer design. Okay. So in tomorrow's class, tomorrow morning at 8:30, we will be looking into the further topics of the transformer design. Okay. So we'll call an end to today's lecture. Thank you for joining the class. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can message me, okay, or text me, or you can call me. And even in the regular classes, you can directly ask the question online itself. If you find any doubt here, okay, you can unmute yourself and raise the doubts. I will be answering on board. Okay, don't keep mum, so that you will ask it later. Later you will never ask. This is my experience in all these years. Okay, if the doubts raise, if it is asked there and then, it is solved. If not, it is simply carried forward. Okay. So thank you for joining the class. We'll finish the session. I hope you have entered your equations in the chat box.